Okay, let's talk about Illustrator. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, but we got a lot to learn today. So hang with me for this, and I think you'll find that you really kind of enjoy working with Illustrator. We're going to use Illustrator in our first project to create a logo for your business. So before we get started, I would like for you to go to the very top of Illustrator, click on Window, and go to Workspace, and choose Typography. Now, I'd like you to go back to Window one more time and go down and make sure Layers is checked. If it's not checked, click on it to reveal Layers. Layers is going to show up for us down at the bottom. Okay, let's get started now. I'm going to go click on File. I want you to do this too. Please work along with me. File, New. And we're going to go to Profile and choose Video and Film. And from Size, we're going to choose HD TV 1080. Listen to me now. This is very important. Do not choose HDV, but instead HDTV. Very, very important that you do that. So we're going to click on that, and we'll give it a name, Practice. And we'll click OK. And now we have this kind of checkerboard looking screen with a bunch of lines on it. Checkerboard indicates transparency. It's a little hard to draw on a transparent space like this with this checkerboard pattern, so let's fill it with something. The first thing I want you to do is go and find the rectangle tool. Now, my tools are distributed into 2 rows here. Yours are probably 1 row, so you kind of have to pay attention here to it. But you're looking for the Shapes tool, actually. And once you find the Shapes tool, it may be any one of these tools. You may actually see any one of these when you open up your display. It's actually whatever the last time you used Illustrator, whatever tool you use is going to be there. But we have all of these Shapes tools. We need the one called the Rectangle tool. So you click and hold on the Shapes tool, and you can choose from the list which one you want. Again, we want the Rectangle tool, and I'm going to just start at the top here and drag down across the black outline to create a rectangle shape. Okay, now at the top you'll see 2 boxes right here. These are the colors for the stroke and the fill. The fill is what the inside is, the stroke is the outside, or the outline. So for the fill color, we're going to choose black. Just a little down arrow there. And for the stroke color, we're going to choose none. Okay, so let's draw a little house. We'll make a little house now. So using the rectangle tool, I'm just going to draw out a little rectangle like so. That's fine. Great. Okay, so now we see up here that our fill is black and our outline is nothing. So let's change it. We're going to click on the down arrow. We're going to make the fill color this light brown, and we're going to make the stroke color a dark brown. Okay, and we'll change the width of the stroke all the way up to about 8. Okay, now let's go back to the Shapes tool again, click and hold on it, and find the one called Polygon. Now what I want you to do is kind of drag or kind of hover around over the top part of this rectangle, and you're going to see some lines that show up. Those are called smart guides, and they help you to find the edges in the center of objects on the screen, help you to align things to those objects. And that's what we want. We want to start right here at that intersecting point. There we go. And I'm going to start dragging out. Now, I see a triangle. You may see something else. You may see a hexagon or whatever. If you want to change the number of sides in your polygon, just use the up and down cursor keys. Those are the keys that are in between the letters and the numbers on the keyboard until you get it down to 3. And just make a roof for the house look something like that. Okay, well, this is a really high pitch roof, and I don't want that. I actually want to lower the pitch on this roof. I need to select this point up here, and to do that I'm going to need this little white arrow over here called the Direct Selection tool. The Direct Selection tool allows you to be really targeted with the things that you want to pick up and work with. And so the Direct Selection tool there, and I'm just going to go over here and click and drag on this object. Now it's free form right now. I'm changing the shape of this triangle, but if I hold the Shift key, it will constrain for me so that I have a nice constrained shape. So it's a perfect triangle. Okay, now I need to take this object and move it up. In order to do so, I need the Selection tool. We just used the Direct Selection tool. Now we're going to use the Selection tool. It's the black one. It's the first one in the list. And when I click on that, now I'm able to grab that object and move it up. And I'm just going to move it up to that point there to give ourselves a little roof. And I want to change the color of the roof to that dark brown color. All right, let's make a door. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and start zooming in on this image so I can see it in a closer view. I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key if you're on a PC and rolling the mouse in. That's going to give me a more zoomed in view of the screen. That might be a little too far. Now here's a tip for you. I'm going to hold down the space bar, which is going to give me something called the Hand tool. There's the Hand tool right there. And this is just a temporary hand tool for us. And that's going to allow me to move around inside the display. I'm not moving the actual object. I'm moving around the view inside the actual artboard. This thing we're working with is called an artboard. Okay, so I'm going to create a door. Now, if I start to draw out right now, let me go ahead and get my rectangle tool. If I start to draw out right now, what I'm going to get is a object that is colored the same way as whatever our last object was, which is the roof, which is a brown fill color and a brown stroke color as well. Instead, what I want are these colors right here. So I need to select this object. So I'm going to go get my selection tool and just click on that object right there, our house. Now I'll go back to the rectangle tool and I'll start drawing out a door on the house. There we go. Nice little door there. Great. Now I'll go back to my selection tool and I'll get this so that make sure that this is kind of centered up on our house there. Now I need a doorknob on the door, so I'm going to zoom in again using my Alt or Option key, and again I'm going to use my Shapes tool, this time the Ellipse tool, and I'm just going to draw a little circle right here. I'm going to hold Shift to constrain, and it doesn't look like I want it to, but I've got what I need there. I just need to fix it up here. Now in this case I want no stroke, so I'm going to click on the little down arrow and set it to none, and I want to set my fill color to that dark brown. There we go. What a fine house this is turning out to be. Okay, next we need a window. Alright, so in order to do this, let's use our old friend the selection tool to get this house shape that we had before, and we go back to the rectangle tool, and I'm going to start drawing out a window. There we go, something like that. Great. Okay, I'm going to change this up a little bit though. I want to change what the inside looks like here, so I'm going to click on the little down arrow for the fill color, and there's one here in the fourth row called Blazer, and I don't know, looks like fire there, but as soon as I create some little window panes in this thing, it's going to kind of just look like reflections. So we're in good shape right now, I think. So now I'm going to go and find the line segment tool. It just looks like a little diagonal line here. And with this, I'm just going to come over and draw out a couple of lines to make my window panes. There. Okay, there's my lines. Well, now that I'm looking at this, it looks like there's a fire inside the house. Pretty scary, but okay. A house afire. Anyway, now we need to copy and paste this window. So I'm going to come over to my Layers panel right here and twirl down the little arrow next to Layer 1. And there are 3 objects that are associated with this window. Everything you do in Illustrator puts itself in its own little sub-layer. And the ones we want are these these 2 paths and this rectangle right here. So in order to select them all, we have to come over to this side to this thing called the target icon, and we're going to click on that guy, and then we're going to hold Shift, click on the next one, and finally click on that one. Now they're all chosen. So we're going to copy, Command or Control C, and paste, Command or Control V, Victor. And there is our window. Now we'll go get our selection tool, and we'll drag it over until it's set up right here as close as we can get to the right spot. That looks pretty good. Okay, so there's our house. Zoom out a little bit, and a fine house it is. Oh yeah, let's put a little chimney on the top. So again, I'm going to go back to select our main little house, and then I'll go to the rectangle tool and just draw out a little chimney there. How about that? Okay, let's try something else now. We're going to learn to use perhaps the most important tool in Illustrator. It's called the pen tool. There's the pen tool. Be careful, there's 2 that look very similar. We don't want the curvature tool, we want the pen tool. So here's how the pen tool works. Let me move over a little bit in our display to a clean area here. Now with the pen tool, if you just click and click and click and click and click and click and click, it's going to create a shape. I'm going to close the shape by clicking on the first point. It just creates a shape with these perfect little corners here, and we call these vertex points. These are straight lines right now. Okay, now if we were to, instead of just clicking, we would click and drag, we get curved lines. So I'm just clicking and dragging and clicking and dragging, and I'll finally come around and close this shape by clicking right there. So there's something, I don't know what it is, but there's our curvy shape. Now we don't have to close shapes. For instance, if I want to make a little snake here, I guess, or a little serpentine pattern, I could do something like that. Okay, and oh look, the line is following me around here. In order to get that to quit, you just hit the escape key, and that'll make it go away. Now I'm going to go get the direct selection tool, and that selects that object for me, but I still need to click over here on it. As soon as I do, I can change things. I just want the line. I don't want the fill. I just want the stroke. So I'm going to set the stroke to the fill to none, and there we'll see just the line. Okay, so there we have sort of our serpentine shape. Now when we clicked and dragged on these points and got these curved shapes, those are called Bezier points, B-E-Z-I-E-R. And whenever we created these straight line points, these are called vertex points. So we got vertex and Bezier, okay? And we can combine them. Let me go back and get my pen tool, and I'm going to click and click. There's a vertex point. Now what if I click and drag? Ah, now I get a Bezier point. So maybe I can click over here. Click here, click here, click here. Maybe click and drag. Okay, you can see how this is working. We have a combination of different kinds of points there. We've got vertex points, those 2, and we've got Bezier points, the curved ones there. So let's go get the direct selection tool. And if we click on a single point, that's going to allow us to adjust just that one point. You know what? I need to fill this shape. And it's just a little bit easier to see when it's filled with something. So I think I'll go get the regular selection tool and click inside the shape and fill it with something. We'll fill it with red, whatever. Okay, now back to our programming here. So now we have still the selection tool chosen. If I were to reach over and grab one of these things, what's going to move the whole shape? I just want to move one of these objects. So I go to the direct selection tool and click, and then click again. It'll allow me to choose just one of those. Now this is kind of tricky, but stay with me here for a second. We're going to talk about some manipulator keys so that you don't have to do all this jumping back and forth between the selection tools and so forth. We're going to go back just to the pen tool. Now notice I'm not holding anything down right now, and if I hover over a point, it's going to show me a minus. That means it's going to delete that. If I click, it's going to delete that point. Okay, I'm going to undo, Command Control Z. But if I hold down the Control key and then click again, it's going to allow me to manipulate just that one point. Okay, so now I can manipulate these vertex points all by themselves. Again, if I don't have anything held down, it's going to show me a minus. Okay. By the way, if I come in the middle of this line, I get a plus sign. Okay, that adds a point for me. So now if I hold down the Control key, I can move just that one point. Okay. All right, let's see how the Bezier points work. Again, I'm going to hold down Control, and what it's going to show me is the point itself and also two handles on either end. Okay, so holding Control, I'm just going to drag these handles around, and you can see how they kind of interact with each other, and we can pull them in to make the corner or the radius tighter, or pull on them to make the radius broader or more gentle, I guess. So you can see how those work. Okay, and again, if I don't hold down anything, I can click the minus key. Now I do want to show you a couple other things. Alt is the other key that you need to learn to use. If I hold down the Alt or Option key, you'll notice that I get this sort of upside down V shape. Now what you can do with this is you can grab hold of one of the handles and move it around, and it will affect only one side of this Bezier curve. You can see the other one before it was moving along with it. There it is down there. But it's not moving now. Okay. Now the problem is it disappears. Don't worry. I'm going to hold down the Control key and click on it, and there I see it. Okay. So now I can hold the Alt key again, and I can adjust that one. Okay. So a couple other things about the Alt or Option key, and that is if I click and pull on a vertex point, I'm going to get a Bezier. Okay. If I click on a Bezier point while I hold the Alt or Option key, it's going to make it a vertex point. Okay. Again, if I hold down Alt and click and drag, I get a Bezier. If I hold down Alt and simply click on a Bezier point, it takes away the curve, makes it a vertex. Okay? Last thing, let's see if you can create a heart shape. Okay? Let's try it. So we're going to start at the bottom of the heart, and we're just going to click. Okay? That's a vertex point. We're going to come up to a little higher up, and just going to click and kind of drag upwards and a little bit to the right. Okay, and we'll come to the center point here and click, and then we're going to kind of guess on the other side where we need to be, And we're going to click and drag here, like so, and finally finish it out on the other side. Okay? It's not perfect, but as you know, we can adjust it. So if you hold down the Control key, you can move these points around until you get a perfectly shaped heart. Okay? I'm not going to bore you while I sit around and try to create the perfect heart, but I hope that you will spend some time and try to do that. If you can practice on this and get you a perfect heart going, you'll be in good shape. So that is the basics of Adobe Illustrator. There's much, much, much more that you can do with it, but for now, that should be good enough to get you started. Good luck, have fun, and I'll see you for the next tutorial, which is creating your logo for your business.